Good afternoon, 104 students. So this is the lecture for the week of April 20th. So on the week of April 20th, you should be working on pages 103, 104, and 105. If you take a look in your textbook, you'll notice that these pieces on these 3 pages have a new time signature. Up until this point, since the very first day when we started talking about counting, we were dealing with meters that have 4 on the bottom. So whether they said 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, that top number always told us how many beats in a measure. That bottom number, that 4, was a symbol that told us that a quarter note was worth 1 beat. Well, now you'll notice on these pages that is no longer a 4 on the bottom, but it's an 8 on the bottom. So let me show you what this is going to mean. So with, for instance, this time signature of 3-8, and this is the time signature of the first piece that you have on page 103, German folk song. That top number 3 is still telling us how many beats in a measure. So there's going to be 3 beats between each of those bar lines. That bottom number now, though, is an 8. An 8 on the bottom is telling you that it's no longer a quarter note that's going to get 1 beat. It's an 8th note. So if I were to draw a chart of what my rhythm would look like, an 8th note is now worth 1 beat. That would go for an 8th rest as well. A quarter note, which has 2 8th notes in it, would be worth 2 beats now, since those are each worth 1. And again, my quarter rest worth 2 beats as well. If I put a dot on side of that quarter, like we learned last week, that makes 3 8th notes in there, 2 in the quarter note. That third one is being added by the dot. If those are each worth 1 beat, that means my dotted quarter is now worth 3 beats. And yes, you can have a dot by a rest as well. My half note, there's 4 8th notes in there, so 4 beats, corresponding rest. My dotted half note has 3 quarter notes, which means 6 8th notes in there, and that's where I'm getting those 6 beats. So essentially, everything is doubled from what we had with that 4/4 meter. So on the top of page 103, you have some clapping exercises that you can do. You can clap them on your knees. I encourage you to set a metronome at a speed that maybe somewhere around 72. Use that as your 8th note click, and 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to help you. I'm on page 103, and let's do this first rhythm exercise up here at the top. So it's 1 line long. Stems up being our right hand, stems down being our left hand. Let's do it on our knees. I'll try to clap loudly here. So giving us a measure, then our right hand's going to start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Tie. 2, 3. So I hope you're seeing how this meter is working. On that second example, you've got a quarter note. That's going to be 2 beats. Your 8th note worth 1. That makes 3 beats, and that's why your bar line is there. Next measure's 3 8th notes, so 1, 2, 3. There's your bar line. So clap through that one together. German folk song, the piece on this page, has a key signature of G. This is an easy one to count because it is straight 8th notes. Again, your metronome would help you there. When you turn the page, on page 104, you've got some more rhythm drills to do. They're counted the exact same way because I still have an 8 on the bottom. The only thing that's different is that my top number is a 6, so telling me that there are going to be 6 beats in each measure. So let's take a look at the top example of rhythm in this one. So again, let's clap through it, stems up being your right, stems down being your left. This is a 2-line example. Let's count off a measure of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So notice on the second line of that example, instead of counting through to 6, I was just counting what each note was worth. Remember, that's a great way to count. We've talked about many ways to counting. Eighth, 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 quarter, dot, quarter, eighth. You can get those words to work for you too. So Pop Goes the Weasel, your piece on 104. Notice there's no flats or sharps in this piece. So that means you've got the key of C. Notice that when you get to the next to last measure, so measure 7, in that right hand you've got an interval of 6. We were just starting to see some pieces with this when we were together in person last. So notice that that right hand pinky is going to have to stretch up to that A. There are 2 more pieces I'd like you to take a look at with this new meter on page 105. With French folk song, tonic is D, and I want you to be careful because in the left hand you have 2 places where that interval is going to be bigger than a fifth. It is going to go to a sixth. Take a look a minute. Where do you find that happening? Hopefully you see that it's happening right here in measure 3, tied into 4, and then it's happening again here in measure 6. So if my left hand is in the key of D, there's my interval of 5. When I have to expand to that interval of 6, is it the top note or the bottom note that is reaching? It's the bottom note. Here's where you have to be careful. If my pinky is going down to the next key, what letter name is that? It's a C. Now look at your key signature. Is there anything you need to remember about C? It's sharp. So make sure that when you're going down to that interval of 6 in measure 3, it needs to be C sharp. I would recommend writing that sharp in. That's a tough one to remember from that key signature. On Dip Your Bread Marie, I'm hoping that you're remembering this key signature is F. F is the one that doesn't work for our trick. This has a tricky fingering in the right hand. If I build my F position, tonic, whole, whole, half, whole. Let's take a look at this right hand melody. It's starting on a finger 3. I skip to my thumb. It's the thumb again. Now notice this next note. Yes, it has a finger 2 there, but I'm hoping you're not stepping up to finger 2 because if you look at the direction of the notes, that next note is actually lower. So how are you going to get there? Take a look at my hand. Finger 2 is going to come over and cross beneath that thumb to get there. We don't want to hop the thumb back and forth because we have a slur telling us to play legato. So instead, I'm going to take that 2 and I'm reaching over and coming back. Let's try that melody again together here in the right hand. Finger 3, skip, same, cross over, and back. Finger 3, skip, same, cross over, and back. Then I go ahead and I've got some intervals of thirds and fourths and fifths to get me through that melody. The same thing happens in the second line. Here we go, second line, right hand only. Finger 3, skip, same, cross over, and back up. 3, skip, same, cross over, and back. Step to finger 2, same. Now look at what happens next. We have a rest, and then we have a D. But notice that all of a sudden there's a finger number there. Remember that we said if all of a sudden in the middle of a piece you have a finger number that creeps up, take a close look at it. Most likely it's there because you're going to need to move your hand. And that's what's happening here. My thumb is currently sitting on F. F would be my first space. This is a D below treble clef, so I need to pick up my right hand. I need to move it 2 steps lower, or 2 keys lower, to finish that melody where it needs to be. With the left hand with Dip Your Bread Marie, you've got intervals of 5. Notice that you've got 2 places where it expands to that interval of 6. So again, think about what that note is that you're reaching to. Double check to make sure that note hasn't been altered in your key signature. All right, if this meter is not making sense or you would like some help with it, please remember that I'm happy to do some mini practicing together through either FaceTime or Zoom. All you need to do is send me an email and we'll figure out a time to get together. Otherwise, I hope that this explaining of 3/8, 6/8 makes sense. Metronome is your best friend. That can help you a lot with your counting. Watch out for these intervals of 6 in these pieces. You should be concentrating on these pieces for that week of April 20th. It's getting us ready for our exam piece, which is 3 Blind Mice, which will come up on page 107, and there'll be a separate video about that piece. But please get these 4 pieces in your hand and understanding the meter first. Have fun.